So, you sent over those 7 rules of life.
Yeah.
It was from like a podcast script, right? Kind of
Ah.
laying out these like simple but powerful ideas
Uh-huh.
for, like a happier, more fulfilling life, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I thought it would be cool to like,
Yeah.
really dive into these, like go beyond just listing them
Right.
and really kind of unpack like, okay, what's the core insight here?
Yeah.
And then how can you actually like take that and use it
Yeah.
in your own life?
Absolutely.
Like move from just understanding it to like
Yeah.
really internalizing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
So the original material, it kind of suggests that if we can,
Mm-hmm.
get a handle on these 7 principles,
Yeah.
we might be able to like, navigate life's ups and downs
Right.
with a little bit more ease, maybe even a little more joy.
I think so.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
Rule number 1,
Yeah.
make peace with your past.
Okay, so let's start by like really digging into this one.
Sure.
What's the fundamental idea here?
Yeah, so I think at its heart, this rule is really emphasizing the importance of
Yeah.
not letting like past events dictate your present.
Okay.
Clinging to old hurts or regrets.
Yeah.
It can be incredibly draining.
Yeah.
It keeps you like mentally and emotionally tied
Right.
to a period that you can't change, right?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how much energy we can unknowingly expend just like replaying past scenarios in our minds instead of, focusing on what's happening now.
Totally. Yeah, and there are, it seems like a few key ways
Yeah.
to actually like put this into practice.
Right.
The source talks about accepting that the past is, past no time machine available.
Right.
But then also like, okay, but we can learn from those experiences, like
Yeah.
extract the lessons instead of just
Yeah.
reliving the pain.
Ask.
And then there's the big one, right?
Uh-huh.
Forgiveness
Oh, yeah.
of others, and maybe even more importantly, of ourselves.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, I think, is often misunderstood,
Uh-huh.
It's not about condoning what happened.
Yeah.
It's really about releasing
Right.
those emotional hooks that the past has in you.
Yeah.
There's that saying, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die,
Right. It's so true.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture
Yeah.
of like mental well-being,
Uh,
constantly ruminating on the past,
yeah.
has been linked to like increased anxiety
Oh,
and
yeah.
even depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a line in the source that really stuck with me.
Okay.
It said, you can't start the next chapter of your life
Mm-hmm.
if you keep rereading the last one.
Oh, yeah.
Such a, it's a simple image, but
Yeah.
it really makes you think about any, old stories you might be
Right.
constantly going back to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really raises, I think, an important question for you.
Okay.
Like, are there any past situations,
Yeah.
any, lingering feelings of anger or regret
Yeah.
that might be subtly influencing how you approach your present?
Mm.
I think identifying those
Right.
is often the crucial first step
Yeah.
toward finding that peace.
Makes sense. All right. So
Okay.
let's move on to rule number 2.
Right.
What other people think of you is none of your business.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So in today's world,
Uh-huh.
with social media and constant connection and
Yeah.
everything,
Right.
this one feels like a real
Yeah.
challenge.
For sure.
So what's the core message here?
Yeah, so I think this rule is really highlighting the fact that other
Yeah.
people's opinions are just that. They're opinions. They're
Wow.
shaped by their own
Yeah.
unique experiences, their beliefs,
Mhm.
even their own insecurities, right?
Right.
So trying to constantly monitor and manage
Yeah.
what everyone thinks about you.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's futile, ultimately, right?
Well, it really is, yeah.
It's a bit of a fool's errand, I think.
Totally. And, the source suggests we should really dial down the seeking of external validation
Right.
and place more trust in our own judgment, our own internal compass of values.
Yeah, yeah.
And it points out that when we focus on our own growth
Yeah.
and what truly matters to us,
Right.
the need for that external approval tends to lessen.
It does. And what's really interesting here is the
Yeah.
concept of internal versus external locus of control.
Okay.
Do you heard of that?
Yeah, vaguely.
So if you have an external locus of control, you tend to believe that external forces like other people or luck
Yeah.
they kind of control your life.
Okay.
An internal locus of control, on the other hand,
is the belief that you are the primary driver
Right.
of your own outcomes.
Right.
So when your sense of worth is tied to those external opinions,
Oh, wow.
you're essentially handing over the keys
Yeah.
to your self-esteem to other people.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it asks you to like really imagine that feeling of freedom that would come from like truly letting go of that need
Right.
for everyone to like or approve of you.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It sounds incredibly liberating,
Uh-huh.
but also maybe a little like scary.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be scary because stepping away from that, seeking external approval requires a certain level of self-trust.
Right.
But think about like the mental bandwidth you'd free up if you weren't constantly trying to anticipate or react to like other people's judgments.
Right, yeah.
That energy could then be directed towards your own goals and values.
Well, that's good. I like that. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Rule number 3.
Right.
Offers a bit of comfort here.
Okay.
Time heals almost everything. Give it time.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the main idea here is that even when we're going through like really tough times and the pain feels like it'll never end,
right.
Time has a way of like shifting things.
It does.
Offering perspective and allowing our emotions to like
it does.
To process.
Yeah, it's a vital reminder, I think. Especially when you're in the thick of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the intensity of the moment and feel like things will always be this way.
Right.
But if you look back at your own life, I'm sure you'll see examples of challenges that once felt insurmountable.
Totally.
So eventually faded.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And the advice here is all about being patient with ourselves and our own like healing journey.
Yeah.
It cautions us against making like big impulsive decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
When our emotions are really high.
Right.
And it offers that simple but powerful phrase, this too shall pass.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the warning against impulsive decisions, that's so important.
It is, because when we're in a state of like intense emotion, our thinking can become very like black and white.
Oh, yeah.
And we might make choices we later regret.
Totally.
Right? So allowing time to pass can bring like a more nuanced perspective and prevent rash actions.
Yeah, totally. It's like it also gently nudges you to reflect on past hardships that you've actually come through.
Absolutely.
Like it's easy to forget our own resilience.
It is. It is.
When we're facing like a new set of challenges.
Yeah, and remembering our past ability to cope and overcome adversity can build our confidence and our capacity to navigate current difficulties.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a reminder that emotional pain, while very real, is often temporary.
It really is. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Rule number 4.
Right.
Get straight to a fundamental truth.
Okay.
No one is in charge of your happiness except you.
Yeah.
This really puts the responsibility like squarely on our own shoulders, doesn't it? Like the core idea is that happiness comes from within, not solely from external circumstances.
What's a powerful message of self-reliance. You know, and while external factors like relationships, career, finances, they can certainly influence our mood. But lasting happiness isn't something we can passively wait for or expect others to provide.
Yeah, you can't just like outsource that. Right.
And relying on those external sources for our like primary sense of joy can be a setup for disappointment.
Right.
Because those things are inherently subject to change.
Yeah, they're going to come and go, you know.
Exactly.
All right, so the source advises us to stop waiting for like some perfect external situation to suddenly like flip a switch and make us happy.
Yeah.
Instead, it suggests like actively cultivating happiness through things like practicing gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
And building positive habits.
Absolutely.
And it really emphasizes like taking ownership of our lives instead of blaming outside forces.
Yeah, and that practice of gratitude is so powerful for shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have.
Totally.
It can really recalibrate our baseline level of contentment. And similarly, like consciously developing positive habits, whether it's exercise, spending time in nature, engaging in creative pursuits. Those things can create a foundation for greater well-being.
It poses a really direct question. What if you started creating happiness today?
Oh, I love that.
It's a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
It is a challenge, but it's a beautiful one, right? It reframes happiness not as a destination to be reached, but as a journey we actively participate in. It's about recognizing your own agency in shaping your emotional state.
I like that. Okay, so rule number 5 tackles something I think we all grapple with. Don't compare your life to others.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with social media being so prevalent. This one feels incredibly relevant.
Sure.
So, like, the basic idea is that, you know, those online highlight reels aren't the full picture. And comparing our real lives to someone else's carefully curated snippets is a recipe for feeling inadequate.
Absolutely. And I think the curated nature of online presentations is so key to remember, like, what people choose to share is often a highlight reel. It's a carefully selected version of reality. You know, it rarely shows the everyday struggles, the setbacks, or the less glamorous moments. So comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel is inherently unfair to yourself.
It is, and it's so easy to fall into that trap, too.
It's so easy.
Especially like scrolling on your phone late at night or something.
Totally. Especially then.
So the advice here is to really focus on our own progress, our own like unique path, rather than constantly looking sideways at other people's perceived successes. It even suggests like taking breaks from social media.
Oh, absolutely.
If it tends to trigger those feelings of insecurity.
If you notice that it's leading you down that path to step away.
Good advice. And it highlights the importance of acknowledging and celebrating our own achievements. No matter how small they might seem. In comparison to what others are doing.
And that piece about celebrating your own milestones, no matter how minor they appear, is crucial for building self-esteem and reinforcing positive behavior. It shifts the focus from those external benchmarks to your own personal growth trajectory.
I like that. And it offers a really reassuring thought. It says your journey is unique and you are exactly where you need to be.
I love that.
That's a comforting perspective in a world that often feels like a constant race.
It does. And recognizing the inherent individuality of our paths frees us from the pressure to conform to some arbitrary timeline or definition of success set by others.
Like, run your own race. You know, don't worry about what everyone else is doing.
Don't worry about the Joneses.
Exactly. Okay, so rule number 6 gets into the realm of our own minds. Stop thinking too much. The core idea here is that getting caught in cycles of like overthinking, especially dwelling on like negative what ifs, can lead to a lot of unnecessary anxiety.
It can.
And often prevents us from actually taking action.
Absolutely. Overthinking can become a real obstacle to living fully in the present. You know, it's like your mind gets stuck in a loop. Replaying scenarios, worrying about potential problems, often problems that never actually materialize. You know? And this mental rumination can be incredibly draining.
It is,
And it can hinder your ability to make decisions and move forward.
It's like that analysis paralysis.
Totally.
Where you just get so stuck.
Exactly.
You can't even like do anything.
It can be crippling,
So the source suggests we should try to like question the validity of our worries.
Absolutely.
When we find ourselves in that like overthinking spiral. You know, it encourages us to take action. Even if it's imperfect. Rather than getting like paralyzed by endless analysis.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And it points to mindfulness practices as a way to, like ground ourselves in the present moment and break free from those thought loops.
Yeah, mindfulness can be very effective.
Yeah.
For interrupting those patterns of overthinking.
Right.
By focusing on your breath or your sensory experiences.
Right.
You're creating a space between your thoughts and your reactions.
Right.
Allowing you to observe them without getting carried away.
That's so powerful.
It is.
That ability to observe without getting totally swept up in it.
Right, right.
Yeah, and it also touches on the idea of like accepting that life is inherently unpredictable.
Absolutely.
And that we can't possibly have all the answers or control every outcome.
Right, that's a tough one.
That's a tough pill to swallow, I think, for those of us who like to feel in control.
Yeah, the illusion of control is strong.
It is. It really is.
Right.
Yeah.
But embracing like a degree of uncertainty can actually reduce anxiety.
Oh, interesting.
The attempt to control every aspect of our lives is often a source of significant stress.
It's true.
So learning to tolerate ambiguity and accept that some things are simply beyond our control can be incredibly liberating.
Wow, that's a good point.
Right.
Okay, finally, rule number 7.
Okay.
Smile.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, it sounds almost too simple.
It does.
But the underlying message is that this small physical act can have a surprisingly significant positive impact on our mood. Can help reduce stress and can even foster like a sense of resilience.
Absolutely. The connection between our physical expressions and our emotional state is quite powerful.
Yeah.
Smiling can trigger the release of endorphins, which have mood-boosting and pain-relieving effects. So it's a subtle way to influence your internal state.
I like that.
Yeah,
and the practical suggestions include making an effort to like smile at strangers.
Yeah.
As a way to spread a little bit of positivity.
You can brighten someone's day.
Totally.
You never know what someone else is going through.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it encourages us to like actively look for reasons to laugh.
Yes.
Even when things are challenging.
Absolutely.
And it reminds us that like life is short.
Right.
So maybe we shouldn't take absolutely everything quite so seriously.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And even a forced smile can sometimes have a positive impact on your mood.
Wow.
And the act of looking for humor in difficult situations can be a very effective coping mechanism.
Right.
It's about finding those small moments of lightness, even when things feel heavy.
Yeah, there's that lovely little saying.
Yeah.
A smile is the best accessory you can wear.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a simple but powerful reminder.
It is. It highlights the effortless and universally understood nature of a smile as a positive form of communication and self-expression.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So just to quickly recap.
Okay.
These 7 rules we've explored. Finding peace with the past.
Yeah.
Recognizing that other people's opinions are ultimately their business.
Right. Right.
Trusting in the healing power of time. Taking personal ownership of your happiness.
Absolutely.
Steering clear of the comparison trap.
Yes.
Managing the tendency to overthink. And harnessing the simple power of a smile.
I love it.
Yeah, so these aren't necessarily like revolutionary ideas.
Right.
But it's the like consistent and conscious application of these principles.
I think so.
That can really make a difference in your overall well-being, in your experience of life.
Absolutely, for sure.
So for you listening right now, take a moment to consider which of these 7 rules resonates most strongly with you.
Good question.
In this particular moment.
Yeah.
It could be a really useful
I took good focus. That moment of self-reflection is key. Identifying the rule that stands out to you can provide valuable insight into where you might want to direct your energy and attention in your own life right now.
Yeah, good point. And the original material wraps up with a really nice thought.
All right.
It says, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Oh, I like that.
A good one, right?
It is.
It really encourages us to think about how we can embrace that idea in our own lives.
Yeah.
Maybe reflecting on our own capacity for resilience.
Right.
And how we can find moments of joy and agency even when things are tough.
I love that.
It's not about ignoring the difficulties.
Right.
But about finding our own way to navigate them.
Yeah.
With a sense of strength and maybe just maybe a smile.
Maybe, just maybe a smile.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, this has been great.
This was fun.
Really enjoyed diving into these
Me too.
7 rules.
That's a good framework.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.